Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Inside Sports with Rashad Mitchell, the 11th episode. I'm your host, Rashad Mitchell, coming to you live on Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyles and streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm your host, Rashad Mitchell. It's great to be back for the final episode in the month of July. Let's get into sports headlines. We're going to start with the Padres. The pitcher for the Padres, he pitched the second no-hitter in San Diego Padres history. Dylan Cease threw a no-hitter against the Nationals as he threw 94 pitches to 7 innings when Padres manager Mike Shield glanced at Joe Musgrove, and Shield said, a quote, Joe is like, his stuff is pretty good. Well, he's sprung one. He knows what this looks like. We let him ride. Now, Dylan Cease pitched the second no-hitter in Padres history. He's 28 years old. He needed only 9 pitches in the eighth and 11 in the ninth in a 3-0 victory over the Washington Nationals on Thursday to complete a three-game sweep. After falling one out short of a no-hitter 2 years ago, when he gave up a single to current teammate Luis Arias, Cease retired Ildemaro Vargas, Jacob Young on a ground out on grounds for the first 2 outs in the ninth, then got C.J. Abrams to hit a flyout to right on a 1-0 slider. So that was a big monumental accomplishment for Cease. It's rare to see that, a pitcher from San Diego Padres, pitching no hitter. He's only the second pitcher to do it. So he's 10-8 on the season. He struck out nine. And he walked three in the right-hander's third complete game in 145 big league starts. He threw a career high 114 pitches in a game that included a 1 hour 16-minute rain delay in the first inning. So great accomplishment for him. He threw 60 sliders, 44 fastballs. He averaged 98.3 miles per hour. He had 10 knuckle curves, and his no hitter against the Nationals. So Musgrove pitched the Padres' first no-hitter against Texas on April 9th, 2021. Houston's Ronel Blanco threw the only other no-hitter this season against Toronto on April 1st. Cease was within one out of a no-hitter a couple years ago for the Chicago White Sox against the Minnesota Twins on September 3rd, 2022, and Arias lined a single to right center on a 1-1 slider over the middle of the strike zone. He said in the quote today, he said, I've been closer to finally get it done. It's one of those things that feels so remarkable and hard to believe. To be able to do it and go out and experience it, I really don't even know how to feel. Just happy. So congrats to Dylan Cease, pitching the second no-hitter in franchise history for the San Diego Padres. So that's a good look for him. We in the second half of the Major League Baseball season. The All-Star break is obviously over with. And now with this win, from today. San Diego has won five in a row. They earned their third series sweep of the season, the first on the road, because the Padres swept Oakland and Washington at home last month. Meanwhile, Washington was swept for the sixth time this season, finishing 0-6 against San Diego. It was the first time the Padres went undefeated against the Nationals Montreal Expos franchise since both teams joined the National League in 1969. So that's the storyline on that. Okay, in other headline news, the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously in training camp. Mostly all the teams are in training camp right now. Mostly everybody. So training camp is underway for most of all the teams. All 32 teams should be in training camp at this point right now. So preseason is around the corner. Matter of fact, next Thursday we got the first game of the preseason Hall of Fame game between the Houston Texans, Chicago Bears. So that'll be the kickoff the preseason of the NFL next Thursday, and then you have the Hall of Fame ceremony on Saturday. That should be the first Saturday in August, August 3rd. But let's get to the Cowboys. They are stressing negotiating three massive contracts that will take time. So that's going to be a big storyline for the Dallas Cowboys. It's a franchise that's been, disappointing. They have a lot of talent, but Des Prescott has played poorly at times in the playoffs. Their defense has underachieved, especially in the playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. So there's something about these Cowboys that is missing from the Cowboys. They have a lot of talent. C.D. Lamb, you got Michael Parsons, Prescott, you got Deron Bland, you got, a big time talented team. You know what I'm saying? But it's just that they just don't know how to get it done when it matters. So we're gonna see how this team, this franchise deal with these negotiations with Dak Prescott, C.D. Lamb, and Michael Parsons. So that's a big storyline. And the thing about it is that the Cowboys held their first training camp practice today, but they didn't have CeeDee Lamb on the field. He remains in Houston. He's working out, and as he awaits his contract. Meanwhile, Prescott and Parsons were on hand, but there's not a guarantee either will be in Oxnard, California next summer for training camp. Prescott will be a free agent next March. Parsons will be entering the fifth year option of his rookie deal. If he does not sign an extension before then, he could follow Lamb's holdout plan. If Lamb, who is due 17.99 million this year, the fifth year option, Parsons, who is under contractual control through 2025, are seeking deals that will make them the highest paid non-quarterbacks in the league. Then those contracts will average more than 35 million a year. And Prescott, who's in the final year of a deal that pays him 40 million on average, is looking at a deal that could make him the highest paid player in NFL. In NFL known for 55 million per season. Prescott said once training camp begins, his involvement in talks will end. But to me, I don't think with the body of work of Prescott, he deserves that kind of money. Um, he's a guy that is underachieving the postseason. Body work speaks for itself. He's not played well in the postseason. He's not gotten the Cowboys to the NFC Championship game. It's still going on 29 years since they made it to the NFC Championship game. 29 years. I don't think he's worth 55 million to be the highest paid player. That's too much. So there's going to be a conflict of interest to try to give these three players what they're looking for: CeeDee Lamb, Prescott, and Lamb, and Parsons. Lamb, Parsons, and Prescott. How you going to pay them the certain money that they need? Now, this is a salary cap era that's been going on for a long time in the NFL. That's going to affect other players. They're going to want their money when their time comes up. You know, so it's like, how you going to keep these guys happy? That's going to be a very interesting thing. So we're going to see if how the Cowboys franchise handle the situation with these three big time players. These three are the best right here. Parsons at linebacker at his position. Prescott's pretty good. Top 10 quarterback, maybe. Top 15, maybe. Lamb is very, very big time. He's a big time receiver, but to pay all these three guys at the same time is going to be a very tall order. But this is a franchise that still has a team that has to do better. They had to get over that hump. It's been 28 years since they won a Super Bowl. 28 years, going on 29 years. Yeah, 28 years. Yeah, they won in 95, so was this 2024? Actually, it's 29 years in a sense. So, you had 14 Pro Bowls was on the current roster, but they have to, live up to the hype. They have to get to this championship game, try to win a Super Bowl. That's what it's about. So that's the storyline from today is the Cowboys dealing with these contract situations with Michael Parsons, Dak Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb. Okay, in other news, in Olympic news, Canada axes women's soccer coach from Olympics over drone use. Canada's women's national team head coach Bev Priestman has been removed from the country's Olympic team over a scandal that involved the use of drones to spy on opponents' practice, Canadian Olympic Committee announced on Thursday. The COC said it made the decision after Canada's soccer decided to suspend Priestman for the remainder of the tournament. The episode began earlier this week when Canada's opening opponent, New Zealand, complained to the International Olympic Committee's integrity unit after it said drones were flown over closed practice sessions. So the Canadian Olympic Committee has removed the Canadian women's national soccer team head coach Bev Priestman from the Canadian Olympic team due to her suspension by Canada Soccer, the COC statement read. Assistant coach Andy Spence will lead the women's national soccer team for the remainder of the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Besides, you can't do stuff like that. You can't do anything to cheat the game. You gotta have integrity and do things the right ways without spying, trying to cheat, try to get the edge with this drone use situation. So that was a big news right there. All right, Dallas Turner of the Vikings, he says that the late Kyrie Jackson, who was killed in a car accident earlier this month, is watching over me. He stopped Thursday as he walked onto the Minnesota Vikings practice field. The rookie linebacker then turned and kneeled at one of the memorials the team had set up for Kyrie Jackson, who was a fourth round draft pick. Turner, who played 2 seasons with Jackson at Alabama before the pair were reunited in the Vikings draft class this year. He said in a quote, "I talk to him all the time and get the chills every single time I talk to him. So I know he's watching over me." That's what he said. All right, that's it for that. Let's go into some of the news. Okay, Dabo Sweeney, coach of the Clemson Tigers, says he's irked by proposed roster changes impact on walk-ons. Obviously, he was a walk-on at the University of Alabama. Said it will be a huge loss for the sport because college football might say goodbye to walk-on players. There's a settlement in the House versus the NCAA case where schools no longer be limited in the number of scholarships they offer, although roster sizes can still be capped. Administrators were quick to push for a lower cap, like between 105 and 110 players, according to multiple sources, to reduce expenses that would come with a huge jump in scholarships. The result would be that many current walk-ons would be forced out of participating on their current teams, causing an uproar among coaches. Sweeney said in a quote, "This is the most united coaches have been in the history of football. It's so frustrating." So this is about issues with the walk-ons. They may wipe that out as far as that is concerned. And also, Clemson has a rich history of success with walk-ons, like Hunter Renfro, who's a former walk-on, who made the game-winning touchdown in Clemson's 2016 national championship, and now plays in the NFL. Philip Price, starting left tackle on the Tigers' ACC championship team in 2009. So this is about walk-ons, and also some top walk-ons will likely earn scholarships when the limit is increased, but many others will likely opt to head to lower levels so they could keep playing. The flip side says if each school adds 20 or more scholarships, you go from the current limit of 85 to the proposed 105 or more. That will open upward of 1,300 scholarships at the Power Four level all at once, likely inducing a groundswell of transfer from Group of Five and FCS programs. The transfers are likely to stop there. Sweeney knows that most teams travel with only 80 players for road games, meaning 25 or more scholarship players will be left behind. That, he said, will almost certainly lead to frustration to ever more players entering the portal at year's end. So the larger number of scholarships, however, still represents a reduction in overall roster size. Most Power Four teams will enter this season with at least 120 players rostered, a necessity, Sweeney said, to practice sufficiently to address attrition over the course of a season. So that's news on that. Um, Bengals, Jamar Chase missed practice part of a plan in place. This is going to Zach Taylor. That's what he stresses in his absence. He did not practice for the second straight day. Jamar Chase, the three-time Pro Bowl receiver. But Taylor confirmed that Chase is healthy, which then raised the question in whether Chase is in the midst of a hold-in amid his desire for a contract extension on his rookie deal. So that's a storyline on that. Look, he's looking for a contract extension. Yeah, he stressed the importance of financial consideration on his next deal. He wanted to see this deal earned and given to his former teammate Justin Jefferson because he got a $140 million contract, 110 million guaranteed. It set the record for most by a non-quarterback in NFL history. So see what happens. All right. All right, so that's it for some of the storylines that I see right here. So let's go into the baseball recap. The regular season, again, the second half is underway. Was the second half of the season. Again, the Hall of Fame game between the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears is next Thursday, the first of the month, August the 1st, on ABC/ESPN/ESPN Plus. All right, so let's get into some Major League Baseball news. Um, right now, you got the Braves and the Mets. They tied 2-2, bottom of the eighth. Went out. The Mets playing very well. They played very well against the Yankees. The Padres won 3-0. Obviously, the no hitter by Dylan Cease. But the Orioles beat the Marlins in 10 innings, 7-6. The Tigers shut out the Guardians 3-0. The Rangers beat the White Sox 2-1. Rays shut out the Blue Jays 13-0. The Dodgers beat the Giants 6-4. The Mets beat the Yankees 12-3. They look good. The Mets looking very, very good. They're 53-48. The Yankees are 16-44. It's a 4-game sweep that was done by the Mets. So break out the Mets, man. They're 5 games over 500. They're looking really, really good. So I'll give all the credit where it's due. They're looking very, very good as far as that is concerned. Yankees have been struggling late, but this season sweep of the Subway Series with the Yankees and the Mets did it for the first time since 2013. Uh, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Tyrone Taylor homed off of Garrett Cole, who with Lindor ending a 3-run homer against the bullpen, and Lindor hit a 2-run drive left-handed against Cole, connected right-handed off of Caleb Ferguson for season high 5 RBIs in his 18th multi-homer game, his third this year. And Lindor has 21 home runs and 60 RBIs. So the Mets finished 4-0 against the Yankees this year, matching their sweep in 2013, outscoring the Yankees 36-14. The Mets are looking very well. I mean, looking very good right now. They have improved from the 24-35 start this year, and now they're 29-13 since. So they're looking very good. But meanwhile, the Yankees are playing bad baseball. The Yankees are 16-44. That's pretty good. 16 games over 500. But the problem is they are 10-22 following a 50-22 start. They have won 8-2 in their last 11 series against opening after opening 17 3-2. They have yielded 34 home runs over 18 games in July. They gave up 5 in a game for the first time in 2 years. The Yankees were 4 for 36 with runners in scoring position against the Mets, so they're not playing well, very well. Gary Cole allowed 6 runs, 8 hits in 5 2/3 innings, raising his ERA to 5.40. Also, he's given up 7 home runs with an 11.17 ERA in a pair of starts against the Mets and 2 homers with 3.20 ERA in his other 5 outings. So the Mets look good. They're looking good right now. Let's look at the standings right now. As of right now, Baltimore is in first place, 61-41. They've won they won 1 game. That's his 1 game winning streak. Yankees have a 2 game losing streak. Yankees are 2 games out of first place with 16-44 record. The Red Sox are 6.5 games out, 54-47. Tampa Bay is 52-51. And the 10 rounders in last place, 46-56. You got the Central Division, you got Cleveland 61-41. And you got Minnesota 56-45. And Kansas City's 56-47. Maybe one of the more surprising teams in baseball. Um, Detroit is 51-53, and Chicago White Sox got the worst record in the league. They lost 11 straight, 27-78. Meanwhile, Houston is back on top of the division, so they're playing like the Astros that we come to know. Seattle lost 3 in a row. Now Houston's in first place with a record of 53-49. 53-51 is Seattle. And then you got Texas with 51-52, Angels 50-45-57, and Oakland's 41-63. Let's get to the National League. The team with the best record is still the Phillies. 64-38. They're on cruising control right now in this division. National League East, they're 9 games up over Atlanta, 54-46. The Mets are 53-48. Got a chance to get into a wild card. They won 3 straight. Washington's 47-56. Miami's 37-66. Milwaukee Brewers are 59-43. And St. Louis is 53-49. Pittsburgh is 52-50. And Cincinnati is 49-53. Chicago Cubs are 49-55. No surprise in the National League West. The Dodgers are in cruise control. They 62-42, but the Padres are red hot. They're 55-50, but they're still 7.5 games out. Arizona's 53-50, and San Francisco 49-55, and Colorado's 38-65. So let's look at the recap of the baseball season so far. It's in the second half, and It's moving to August, which will be next Thursday. So let's get into the book that I've been reading for a while. 101 memorable home runs in baseball history. We're gonna resume with number 87. We're gonna do 3 chapters, and that'll be it for the night. Well, Billy Hatcher, postseason phenom. If Bill Doran got on base, Billy Hatcher was supposed to bunt him to second. That was the plan. But Bill Doran struck out swinging. So the Houston Astros were down to their last 2 outs in the bottom of the 14th inning on October 15th, 1986, in Game 6 of the National League Championship Series. So right beside the dugout, there was this lady with the little girl. Hatcher would later say, and I can't remember how old she was, but she said, "It's all right. Billy's going to hit a home run." Hatcher had only 6 all season. So Astros had acquired him in the 1985 all season for Jerry Mumphrey from the Chicago Cubs. So Houston liked Hatcher's speed and defense, but weren't counting on home runs. So Hatcher was shocked when he was traded. He thought he was going to be a Cubby for life, as he has been drafted by the club in the 6th round of the 1980 draft. Worked his way through the farm system, made his big league appearance for the club in 1984. He hadn't initially been that excited about being traded to the Astros, who weren't expected to be very good in 1986 because the pundits at the time had picked them to finish fifth in the National League West. But Houston ended up having the last laugh. Expansion team that was born in 1962, they went in October in 86 in their first postseason, still fighting against the mighty New York Mets, the team to beat since April, and the other expansion team to come into the league in 1962. The Mets were leading the 7 game series 3 games to 2. Starter Bob Nepper had shut out the Mets for 8 innings, allowing just 2 hits. Then came the ninth with 2 outs and 2 strikes. New York's Lenny Dykstra triple. Mickey Wilson fouled with a 2-strike single to right. After a ground by Kevin Mitchell, Keith Hernandez poked a double to right center for a run. Nepper's day was over. The Astros were clinging to a 3-2 lead. It didn't last, as Ray Knight sacrificed fly tied the game up. So in the top of the 14th, the Mets went ahead 4-3, were on the verge of winning the National League crown. But the Astros waited if they could get toward Game 7 with their ace Mike Scott, who had struck out 306 batters in the regular season, back on the mound. There was no way they would lose. Scott had been drafted and discarded by the Mets, had already dominated New York twice in the fall of '86. All that was hope and speculation. To force a Game 7, the Astros had to win Game 6. So in Houston hadn't scored a run in 12 innings. Left-handed relief ace Jesse Orosco was pitching for the Mets. Meanwhile, Billy Hatcher hit 258 his first year as Astro and was second on the team Duran with 38 steals. He might have had only 6 dingers, but one in all was crucial when he hit a grand slam in a must-win game against the LA Dodgers. In September, he delivered a homer in the 18th inning to beat his former team, the Cubs. Roscoe's first pitch to Hatcher in the 14th was a fastball that was drilled down the line in left. The Astrodome crowd of 45,718 stood as Hatcher missed the home run by inches. The fans were back in the game. Hatcher wasn't thinking home run at the time. He was just trying to get on base, possibly steal second. He already had 3 stolen bases in the series and didn't believe the Mets could throw him out. I was trying to hit the ball hard and run, he recalled. With the count 3-2, 3-2. Roscoe threw another fastball, a touch inside, and Hatcher hit a towering fly deep to left. Running down the first base line, he kept shouting, stay fair," and this time the ball did, hitting the foul pole. I remember the little girl in the stand, saying that, and when I hit the home run, I was running around the base saying she knew that this was going to happen before it happened. It was unreal. It was an out of body experience. I don't think my feet hit the ground. The fun, however, was short lived because in the 17th inning, the Mets scored 3 times in the 17th inning, and despite a rally by the Astros, one in which Mickey Billy Hatcher struck an RB single, New York won the game and was headed to the World Series. We should have won Game 6, Hatcher said. It was just that one game. I think it was the whole series. That was probably one of the best series in baseball ever. Both teams left everything they had on the field. There was no second guessing anything that he did. When he hit this biggest home run of his career for Houston, one of his coaches was the great Yankee Yogi Berra. He would show off his World Series rings. I have to remember he would have them on, and he had one for every finger. I just said to himself, I want a ring. I mean, seeing Yogi and being around him, seeing what type of person he was and how much he loved baseball, I said, all I ever want is an opportunity. And I'm going to get that opportunity one day. And he did. Next, we're going to look into number 86, Lenny Dykstra, nails hammers one. Growing up in Orange County, California, Lenny Dykstra was a California Angels fan. Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. All right. Let's continue on with Lane Dykstra, the home run that he hit. Let's see who he hit the home run against. Now he grew up a California Angels fan. His favorite player was Hall of Fame second baseman Rod Carew. Like Carew, Dykstra batted left and drew through right. Dykstra was obsessed with baseball. His goal was to be a major leaguer. While hockey was in his blood, baseball was in his dreams. But even if so many friends, teammates, and coaches Scarf all seemed to say a version of the same thing, you're too small. One high school coach said Dykes was 5'8" on his tippy toes. Lane's big saying always was, if they only knew, meaning that if they only knew where we would wind up, they'd treat us better, said childhood friend Mark Baker told Jim Barnbach, 2012 in Newsday. Newsday's Jim Barnbach. Baker wanted to be a professional bowler, and it was at the lanes in the Garden Grove that Dyke's nickname was Born Nails. It was also become the name of his 1987 book. I got it pretty good through a bunch of the strikes, and he was saying I was throwing nails. Baker recalled, from then we just called everything nails. If a girl was good looking, she became nails. If you hit a baseball really hard, that was nails. So it was the nails when Dale Stryker, Lee Dykstra showed up at a 1981 Southern California tryout camp. Was mistaken for a bat boy. Joe McAvane, the Mets scouting director, recalled Dykstra reaction. I'm with Lee Dykstra. I'm the best player you're going to see here today. McAvane, who had pitched in the Detroit Tigers system, spent a decade as a scout, would come to think enough of like Lee Dykstra's skill set, especially his speed, to consider taking him in the third round of the 1981 draft. But his scouts told him there was no need to rush. No other team was that impressed. But the Mets ended up drafting him in the 13th round. As Dykstra, all of 18, informed the Mets he didn't want to start in rookie ball. He wanted to begin his career in Class A. Some people say may call it cockiness, but it was a good kind of cockiness because he 100% believed in his ability. But Lenny could never fail in his own mind, according to McAvane told writer John Bombach. So fast forward to Dykstra making the major leagues in 1985. By 1986, he was a Met star on a team with a constellation that included Darryl Strawberry, Gary Carter, Keith Fernandez, Doc Gooden, and Mookie Wilson. Dykstra was installed as the team's leadoff hitter. His energy, recklessness, daring, toughness, cockiness, and all-out hustle made him a fan favorite at Shea Stadium. The Mets won National League Eastern Division by 21 half games while rolling up 108 wins, a massive total. That's still a big boys number four with a dirty pride. New York Times George Vesey was right. The only place Lenny made sense was in a uniform with the number four on the back. The Yankees had the aura of Lou Gehrig. The Mets had the aura of Lenny. For a few fun years, Lenny was the personification of the franchise, hitting the dirt head first. That was Dykstra in 1986. Add a mouthful of red man, chewing tobacco, and there's your man, who in his first full big league season hit 295 with 8 homers, 45 yards, and 31 steals. But in the 1986 National League Championship Series, the Mets played the first two games with the Houston Astros in the Astrodome. As mighty as the Mets were, they feared having to face Houston's Mike Scott 3 times in a 7-game series. Scott was an 18-10 with a 2.22 ERA en route to the Cy Young Award. In game one, Scott struck out 14 and won that win. Smith's finger fastball was filthy. Scott was Houston's scheduled game four starter. In game three, the Astros owned a 5-4 lead on the Mets heading into the bottom of the ninth. So Houston called upon Dave Smith, who saved 33 games in the regular season. He was known for his football and changeup. Leading off the ninth, Mets second baseman Bobby Backman beat out a bunt single. The Astros have argued that Backman had gone out of the baseline to avoid being tagged by Houston first baseman Glenn Davis. The call stood. Beckman Backman moved to second on the pass ball. Danny Heap, pinch hitting for shortstop Rafael Santana, fired out. As Dykstra, who ends the game as a pinch hitter in the seventh, drove to the plate, he had been slumping the last month, hitting only 214 in September. Not that Nels knew that. On Smith's second pitch, Dykstra golfed a low inside fastball high and deep to right. When the ball took off, all I said was, maybe. What else could I say? He told Marty Noble of Newsome Day, who ghost wrote Dykstra's 1987 book. Maybe, maybe, maybe. And my voice got higher with each one. Most of the time, I can tell if a ball I hit is going out. I haven't hit that many home runs that I can always tell. Shaw can tell on this. He can just stand there and watch it go out. Me, I've got to get going and get to first base at least. I look pretty weak if I watched it. and it hit the wall, so I headed to first, saying maybe and hoping yes. He told reporters that the last time he hit a game-winning homer in the bottom of the ninth, he was playing the board game Stratomatic with his brother. It was the first time that a player in the postseason had hit a walk-off home run with his team trailing. The Mets beat the Astros in 6 games. Dykstra hit a crucial home run in Game 3 of the 1986 World Series against the Boston Red Sox. He would star again for the 1993 Philadelphia Phillies, who lost to the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. Nails was out of the game by 1996. He was 33, no longer a sprig. Okay, last one we're going to do number 85, Steve Garvey. Senator connects with the Padres. This was what the San Diego Padres had signed Steve Garvey for. Game 4, bottom of the ninth, a must-win situation in the 1984 National League Championship Series. The score was tied 5-5. Garvey had been a Los Angeles Dodger for so long that even in his second year with the Padres, he still looked strange in Padre brown as opposed to Dodger blue. There he was, number 6 on his back, solid as an old blocking back fullback in the right-handed batter's box. Teammate Tony Gwynn, who won the National League batting championship in his breakout season, was on first. There was one out. Big Lee Smith was on the mound for the Chicago Cubs. The first postseason appearance for the Cubs since 1945. It was also the initial playoff experience for the Padres, who joined the National League in 1969. Cubs had won the first 2 games by a combined score of 17-2. They were the sentimental choice of the nation because they hadn't won the World Series since 1908. And on the pitch of Ed Winston. The Padres won Game 3 7-1, but Game 4 was a Seahawks-Saw affair. Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego was battling. Steve Garvey had signed a 6-year, $6.6 million contract just before Christmas of 1982 after refusing the Dodgers offer of $55 million. The Padres were looking for a solid middle of the order back, leadership, a chance to boost their attendance. Garvey turned 34 the day the Padres announced the deal. He promised San Diego fans that the team would be a championship caliber in the very, very near future. The team, which had only one winning season in its 15-year history, finished 1982 with an 81 and 81 record. So, with his well-groomed black hair and chiseled movie star looks, Garvey was the face of the Dodgers. Teammates called him Senator because they thought he had a future in politics. He was known for honoring every autograph request. Garvey would break the National League consecutive game streak of Cubs star Billy Williams on April 16, 1983, in his first game back at Dodger Stadium. As a member of the Padres, he would go on to play in 1,207 games for the streak ended on July 29th, 1983, after he injured his thumb in a collision at home. Garvey was having a good year in his first year in San Diego, hitting 294 as his average and 14 home runs and 59 RBIs until July 29th when he dislocated his left thumb while trying to score on a wild pitch. San Diego manager Dick Williams would say of Garvey, "When I managed Oakland, Reggie Jackson had some great seasons for me. But when I managed Boston, Carl Yastrzemski for one year was as good as anybody I ever saw." I don't hesitate to put Garvey with those guys, not just because of his power, but because he hits in the clutch against good pitchers. It doesn't make a difference whether Steve ahead or behind in the count. Either you know when he's really needed, he's going to drive the ball somewhere. Because Lee Smith was a good pitcher on the brink of being great when the Cubs met the Padres in the National League Championship Series in 1984. He was also a 6'5", 220-pound right-hander who threw hard. He had saved Game 2 and 33 huddles in the regular season. Guard, Smith had a spun eight, scores eighth in Game 4, but Garvey was coming up and was 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs in the night. The Padres had built a 2-0 lead in the third on a sacrifice fly by Tony Gwynn, and a run scoring double by Garvey. Chicago took the lead in the fifth on a 2-run Jody Davis homer and solo shot from Leon Durham. The Padres tied the game in the home run half of the fifth thanks to a Garvey RBI single. They went ahead with another RBI single in the seventh, 5-3. The Cubs had not scored in the eighth. The ninth, with one out, Quinn had single. Garvey then stepped up to the plate and drilled a ball to right center at the 370 time. I could see Tony Gwynn, who was on first start, to run towards second base. As I looked toward right field, all I could see was Henry Cotto, the Cubs right fielder, heading toward the ball. Garvey recalled 30 years later. I really didn't know if I had gotten all of it. I started to think he is going to make the greatest catch in playoff history. Me and Cotto didn't. The ball was gone. As I rounded first base, the roar increased. Garvey recalled, at some point it just gets so loud that you don't even hear. it anymore. Then I remember my teammates jumping all over me at home plate. The Padres beat the Cubs in Game 5. ESPN's Steve Wolf reported when the Natural was returning on a plane from Chicago to San Diego for the start of the series, the passengers chanted Garvey, Garvey at the climax. The Padres would play the Detroit Tigers in the series, but would lose in 5 games. Garvey finished his postseason career with a 356 average, batting average. He thinks people remember his 1984 home run so clearly because it was against the Cubs. Their postseason history, he was no. Had it been any other team, as noted by ESPN's David Schoenfield, that home run got Garvey's number 6 retired by the Padres. Right, so that's it for a look at this book. Gonna do my best move forward as I go into August. I know it's gonna take a long time for me to get to the countdown of what was the most memorable home run. So I gotta try to make sure I put through that in the segments, but I can put close to this and get to number 84, 83, and 82 next week, maybe 81. So I count down 101 most memorable home runs in baseball history. So that's it for that. Um, let's get into the on this day in sports history for the month of July 25th. Let's get into it, man. What took place on this month, on this day in sports history for July 25th. Let's get into it. Okay, on this day, July 25th, 1903, excuse me, 1902, 3 years after winning the title from English boxer Bob Fritzman, American champion James Jeffries repeats the host with an eighth round KO in San Francisco for the heavyweight crown. 1913, on July 25th, 1913, Pittsburgh Pirates future Baseball Hall of Fame outfielder Max Carey scores 5 runs without a hit, reaching first base on an error and 4 walks as the Bucks beat Philadelphia Phillies 12-2. W.G. Grace retires in 1914 on July 25th, the last day of club cricket for English legend W.G. Grace at age 66 makes unbeaten 69 runs to Elton against Grave Park. In 1937, on July 25th, 31st Tour de France won by Roger Lepelby of France. On July 25th, 1939, New York Yankees starting pitcher Atlee Downell set the American League rookie record for consecutive wins, beating St. Louis Browns 5-1 for his 12th straight victory. On July 25th, 1940, American John Sigmund begins swimming for 89 hours, 46 minutes from St. Louis to Caruthersville, Missouri, in the Mississippi River, 292 miles, longest solo swim of all time. In 1941, July 25th, 41-year-old pitcher Lefty Grove wins his 300th and final Major League Baseball career game as the Boston Red Sox defeat the Cleveland Indians 10-6 at Fenway Park in Boston. 1948, on July 25th, 35th Tour de France Italian cyclist Gino Bartali wins both general and mountain classifications the second time, 1938. On July 25th, 1949, Stan Musial, the St. Louis Cardinals' Stan Musial, hit for the cycle, beating Brooklyn 14-1. July 25th, 1956, Pittsburgh Pirates Roberto Clemente, in 1956, on July 25th, hit his Major League first and only walk-off inside the park grand slam for 9-8 win over visiting Chicago Cubs at Forbes Field. On July 25th, 1961, Roger Maris hit 4 home runs in a doubleheader sweep of the Chicago White Sox at Yankee Stadium in New York City, as he hit home runs 37, 38, 39, and 40 off of 4 Chicago White Sox pitchers in a doubleheader at Yankee Stadium in New York City. On July 25th, 1964, Australian cricket captain and opening batsman Bob Simpson hits 311 versus England in the drawn fourth test in Manchester. July 25th, 1972, 43rd Major League Baseball All-Star Game, Atlanta Stadium, Atlanta, Georgia. National League beats the American League 4-3 as an MVP with Joe Morgan, Cincinnati Reds second baseman. On July 25th, 1978, Cincinnati Reds Pete Rose set National League record hitting in 38 consecutive games. On July 25th, 1978, Robert Granville Bob Lemon replaced Billy Martin as the Yankees manager. On July 25th, 1981, anti-apartheid protesters in Hamilton, New Zealand forced the cancellation of a rugby match between the provincial team Waikato and South Africa's Springboks by invading the pitch during the game. On July 25th, 1982, the 20th Tennis Fed Cup, USA beats Germany in Santa Clara, USA 3-0. On July 25th, 1982, 69th Tour de France was won by Bernard Hinault of France. On July 25th, 1982, U.S. Women's Golf Open, Janet Anderson shoots final round 68 -4 to claim her only LPGA Tour win, 6 strokes ahead of Beth Daniel, Donna White, Joanne Carner, and Sandra Haney. On July 25th, 1983, in U.S. Senior Open men's golf, Hazeltine National GC, Billy Casper wins with birdie on first extra hole after an 18-hole playoff with Rod Funseth. On July 25th, 1990, Kansas City Royals George Brett hits for the cycle. On July 25th, 1990, Roseanne Barr sang the national anthem at Cincinnati's Reds San Diego Padres Major League Baseball game. On July 25th, 1991, Pittsburgh Steelers guard Terry Long treated for an apparent suicide attempt after he learned he tested positive for steroid use. On July 25th, 1991, Seattle Jay Buhner hit a 479 foot home run in Yankee Stadium. On July 25th, 1992, 25th Olympic Games opened in Barcelona, Spain. On July 25th, 1993, 31st Tennis Fed Cup, Spain beat Australia in Frankfurt, Germany, 3-0. Some things okay. July 25th, 1997, Brett Favre, the quarterback, he signed with the Green Bay Packers for $50 million for 7 years. On July 25th, 1999, 86 Tour de France, Lance Armstrong wins first of 7 consecutive Tour de France titles, but was later disqualified for drug cheating. On July 25th, 2007, Patrick Kane signed a 3-year contract with the Chicago Blackhawks. On July 25th, 2021, U.S. men's basketball team saw their 25-game Olympic winning streak end as they were beaten 83-76 by France in the first round match in Tokyo. Right, so those are most of the events that took place on today, July 25th, in sports history. All right, so that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, the final episode of Inside Sports with Rashad Mitchell, the final episode number 11. We got 11 episodes gonna be in the books, and thank all those who've been supporting all during this time. Looking forward to August with another episode, the first of the month. We talking about a lot of things. Football definitely is on the rise. Got the Hall of Fame game next week, Houston versus Chicago. Maybe give you updates on that game for scores. Then we can talk about baseball, including the book 101 Memorable Home Runs in Baseball History on this day in sports history on August 1st. So once they go into August, definitely gonna see a lot more NFL preseason action. College football is coming up real soon in August, and like I said, it's right around the corner, so it's gonna be a great time. We go double check. I think the first week in college football is gonna be August 24th. That's that Saturday. Florida State plays Georgia Tech. Yeah, August 24th. That's when everything starts that week, August 24th. So it's right around the corner. The polls should be coming out pretty soon, and go over that. Maybe go over the polls, preseason top 25 next week if this comes out. So hopefully you enjoyed tonight's show. Also check out my usual articles that I write for E5280sports.com. This article is about the 1969 New York Mets. They were definitely a unique team, Cinderella team that just came out of nowhere and made their mark on the game of baseball by surprise by what they did beating the mighty Baltimore Orioles, that team that was led by Frank Robinson, Brooks Robinson, Boog Powell, pitching staff that combined for 63 wins, led by Jim Palmer, Mike Cueller, and McNally. I don't know his first name. We looked that up. His first name. But they were a dominant team. They were one of the great teams not to win the championship, and they lost to the upstart New York Mets, who was named had a moniker called the Amazing Mets, Miracle Mets. That was the moniker that they had, and they was able to knock off the mighty Baltimore Orioles. They had a big time team. They won 109 games, only lost 53 games. Yeah, Dave McNally, Mike Cueller, and Jim Palmer, they combined 63 wins. So they had everything. They had a lot of big time players on that team. But this is a year of expansion. The 1969 Major League Baseball season as a whole was a year of expansion. It ushered in a new era of expansion from a divisional standpoint because the American League and National League had what they were divided into two 16 divisions. So the Mets was able to play in the first ever National League Championship Series was played by the Mets. They beat the Braves of Atlanta in a sweep, 3 games to none. And at that time, it was the best of five. Late years later would be the best of seven, but at that time, it was the best of five. You just had to win 3 games and you advance. So the National League had that. Then the American League, you had the Baltimore Orioles. They swept the Minnesota Twins 3 games to none. So both teams were going to the World Series on a high note, sweeping their opponents in their first ever inaugural championship series in the American League and National League. So that was something that was a different phase in baseball for us. Seeing those two teams do what they did, that would lead to great success for them to play each other in the World Series that should have been won by Baltimore because the Mets were definitely a miracle team. They were led by obviously Tom Seaver, pitcher Tom Seaver, Jerry Kuzman, Cleon Jones, Tommy Agee, Al Weiss, Ed Crampo. The MVP of that World Series was Don McClendon. I'm saying his name right. Don McClendon. He was the MVP, I believe, on that team. He was the MVP. I think he hit like 357 in that World Series, and it had Nolan Ryan on this team as well. Nolan Ryan. He was on this team. Nolan Ryan didn't become Nolan Ryan until he went to Houston, until he went to Texas. So he wasn't really like a Hall of Fame pitcher for the Mets, but he was on that Mets team. Don Clendenon. He was the MVP of the World Series. Had 3 home runs, 4 RBIs. He had 357. That was the batting average. And 1969 Mets, they won 100 games that year. And they only lost 62 games. And then you had a situation where they did a lot of firsts. They broke new ground. But they were the first team as an expansion team to win a championship, a division title, and a pennant. You know, at the same in the same year. So that was the first championship. They wouldn't win another championship until 1986 with Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Good, and those guys. When in '86, they did go to the World Series in 1973, but they lost in 7 games to the Bergman Dynasty and Oakland A's, who won 3 straight. So check out that article, year in review, 1969 New York Mets. Check out the article on e52asports.com. So check that out. Got another article coming up. You can read next week. I'm not gonna reveal what it's gonna be about, but that's it for the show, man. That's it for today's show. The final episode of the month of July. I started the show in May. Did a shows in June, May, June, July. This is the third month of me doing this show. Now we're going to August 1st, which is next on Thursday. It'll be the fourth month that I'm doing this show. So shout out to Michael Spilling for giving me this opportunity to do my show. I have great content the best way I can. Hopefully, you listeners enjoyed it. And like I said, this show's going to continue to build. It will be episode number 12 next month. Kick off the month of August. Football, football is right around the corner. NFL, college football, man, it's got a lot going on. So a lot to talk about. So stay tuned. So that concludes this episode, man. Episode number 11 of Inside Sports with Rashad Mitchell, which comes on every single Thursday night from 9 p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyles, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, streaming live every single Thursday night on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Until then, sign off. Until then, talk to you next time, next month, in the month of August, live on Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyles, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Until then, have a good night. Talk to you next Thursday and August 1st. Have a good night.